Hello there. Just give me a second here. It's been a long time, I guess, since we last worked here on our API that we have here. Once again, for those of you who might not be aware, that's actually an API that's designed to be for a social network. So right now we are just developing the API, but the plan is that at some point, I don't know, maybe sometime in March or in April, we'll start a dedicated series in which we'll actually also build a front end for this API in Blazor. But for now, actually, as I said, we are working on this API. Hello there, from California. Thank you very much for tuning in, and from Pakistan and from Algeria. It's so nice to have so many people from different continents. That's actually great. I'm really glad about this type of community that we kind of built here. I'm really thrilled. Hello to all of you, and sorry that I didn't manage to actually stream on Monday. As said, I have promised that I will stream every Monday. Unfortunately, this Monday, well, it was February 14th, so yeah, it was a little bit more complicated. Sorry for that. But I was thinking then, okay, let's stream this Friday, and of course, we'll also continue to work on next Monday. And if I get bored during the weekend, I might go live even during the weekend at some point. Okay, let's or for those of you who are new, actually, also, if you can just drop a few lines of hello and maybe let me know where you are watching from, just like the others did, that would be totally great and highly appreciated. Okay, and for those of you who might not exactly know that, what I have brought here on the screen is actually the an issue from the GitHub repository. Now, the idea is that we have a GitHub repository for this, which is this one, which is CWK Social, and my account is denpdc. So you can follow this repository, you can start it, you can, I don't know, fork it if you also want to work on that. And by the way, the idea is that if we take a look here, we have also other contributors, and the idea is that we have some issues here, and probably when I'm thinking about new things that we need to add to the API, I'm also adding some issues here. If you kind of like want to just get your hands dirty a little bit and code here using our pattern, or well, our architectural pattern that we have followed here for this API, which is I would say a rich domain model with clean architecture and CQRS using Mediator, even though, okay, I agree Mediator is not 100% CQRS, but it's very similar to that. So we are actually doing that. And what I have planned to do is actually we had this issue for quite some time, and somebody started to work on it, but unfortunately, it didn't really complete it. And from the point where that person started, which is actually Vlad, actually, the entire API changed a lot, and I was thinking maybe it might be a good idea to actually start from here today and implement this story. So my plan is I want to also implement this idea of post comments. I want to implement post or friend requests. I would also like to implement notifications and messaging, and then we can start building out the front end for that. Now, also, I haven't really looked at it in quite a bit, so let's see what we need to do here. So we already have implemented a post comments as a nested resource on the post controller. Okay, right now we have two endpoints: retrieve a list of comments of a post and add a comment to a post. Okay, so that these are already there. Cool. We now need to implement two further endpoints: update a comment. Okay. So we should only update the text, not the user profile ID. And also I would add only the owner of the comment should be able to update that. And we'll be able to check this based on the JSON web token that we have, because we have already implemented identity. And both the user profile ID and the identity ID is or are some claims that we have on the JWT token, so we can clearly check for that. And if I recall correctly, we even have some extension method on the HTTP context that kind of like gets those claims as a string. But we look into that and then remove deleted comment. And here I would also add that only the owner of the comment should actually be able to remove that. And what we need to do is, well, we have to create the controller actions, the needed comments in the application layer, create the needed command handlers, of course. Okay, and then wire everything up. So yeah, let's just start by doing that, and let's just take a look at what we already have. So in our domain layer, we have this post aggregate, and this post aggregate, we use here a backing field because we want to expose this as an enumerable, and we want, following this idea of the rich domain model, we want that consumers of our domain classes should be able actually to add or remove comments or interactions only through the behavior methods that we actually expose, like add post comment and remove comment or update post. Now this is update post text. I guess for the update post comment, I guess we need to actually create a new method for that, because we don't have that. We have this add post comment, which is comments.add, which is okay. Then we have update post text. This is for the entire post, so or the text of the post. And then we have here this remove comment, which actually does the removal. Right now, we don't do a lot of things here, but probably at some point we'll add some validation or things similar to that. We have already added some basic validation for, I don't know, for creating a post with Fluent validation. But right now I just want to concentrate on the functionality, and when we'll need to implement stuff, we'll get to implement that. So it means that we also need a behavior method here. We'll have here public void. It should be void update post comment. Okay. And what actually should we get here? Okay, my cat is meowing a little bit here. Sorry for that. Okay, so what we'll need here? I guess we'll need the post comment ID, and we need a string for the updated comment. So that's actually what we'll need to do. So here, first of all, we'll have to actually find the comment that we need. var comment equals comments where, or we can even say here first or default. And we want to actually look for a comment, so we use this letter C. So we look for a comment for which the comment ID equals to the post comment ID that we get here. Okay, now the only thing that we want to do here is say that if comment is not null, because only then we actually want to do the update. Otherwise, we can't really update anything. So if the comment is not null, then what we'll want to do here is, of course, just simply say here comment.text equals updated comment. So maybe we'll, what's the problem here? So the text is a string, and the updated comment is also a string. Of course, we need to assign that. We don't check for equality. Cool. Maybe we just add here another condition like and not equals string is null or white space. And here we'll have, how did we call that? Update. Let's call this updated comment. Okay. We have to also make this here. What's the problem with the text here? Okay, because yeah, we can set it. Sergey, wouldn't it be better in the domain methods to refer to iService rather than to the context directly? We don't refer to any context here. So our domain model doesn't know anything about contexts or databases. It doesn't really know anything about that. So they are not really dependent on one the other in either way. These comments are actually is a field here. That's our personal field here in this class. It really doesn't have anything to do with Okay, but why it's actually the prop? Okay, because we can't really set this directly here. We have also in the comment, comment dot update comment text as part of the rich domain model behavior. Yeah, it's just a private field, and if you want, Sergey, I will come back to that because if you weren't here when we did set this up, then probably it's a little bit weird why we actually do that. So we update the comment like that, and here post, but it's updated comment. Where is it here? Now, let's go back to this idea of why we actually have these fields here. Now, in the post, this is what we would call an aggregate root. So, because to this post, we have a lot of things that actually belong to this post directly, like the comments, the interactions, and everything around that. So the idea is that, of course, we need to expose different type of information here. So from a logical point of view, a post would have a list of comments and it would have a list of interactions. Now, the only problem is that we wanted, as said, to have full encapsulation of our domain models, which means that nobody from outside the class itself is able to actually modify anything except through the methods that we actually expose here, like update post text, add post comment, remove post comment, update post comment, add interaction, remove interaction. So everything is going only through this type of behavior methods that we have. That's actually the idea of having a rich domain model. Although this application is only at the beginning, so probably also the domain will grow a lot with the time. But right now it's like that. So you can't set anything for the properties outside of that. Then the idea is that if we would expose this as a list or as an I collection, the problem is that outside consumers would be able to actually add new comments to our collection, because if we initialize it as it is an I collection, everybody can add or remove things from there. And this is not what we want to achieve. We want also to not give this opportunity also when adding comments or interactions or deleting comments or such interactions. We still want to go through these methods that we expose, and therefore we need to expose this as an IEnumerable, because if it is an IEnumerable, no consumer will ever actually be able to add something new to this collection that we have here, or to remove. So, but if we want to expose this as an IEnumerable, we also need a way actually ourselves from within this class to actually be able to add comments or remove comments or post interactions. So that's why we actually have these backing fields here, which represent the comment and the interactions. And that's why when we actually do something, we add everything to these fields, because here we have this in the getters. So we just return the corresponding fields. So that's the whole idea why we actually have these fields here. To fully encapsulate this functionality, we just expose it as an IEnumerable, but we need internally a way to actually add things to this type of collections. So, okay, am I right to say if I need to refer to other domain entity in another entity, I need to do it through the service interface in the domain project? No. No. Also, according to Eric Evans and the domain-driven design fundamentals, that's not prohibited. You can have one aggregate root referring to another aggregate root through its ID, through its identifier, because the aggregate root is what is called an entity, and an entity is actually defined by a thread of continuity that is defined itself by the identifier. That could be whatever integer. We have chosen to use GUIDs. So you can totally refer in one aggregate to some other aggregate. So that's not really a problem. To be honest, right now, or until now, we actually we haven't come across a scenario where we would actually have to add a domain service. But when we'll be in that scenario, we'll totally do that. So if I need to get a list of entity from sister entity in domain, okay, I'm not sure exactly. So these comments and interactions will get actually from the database. But you could you could even have an I collection of something. Maybe we have an example here because we have this user profile ID, and user profile is one aggregate, and we have the post, which is a different aggregate. And we see that here in this post, we also have this identifier for the user profile. And we even have this navigation property. Although right now, if I think about that, that's actually wrong. Because oh no, that's actually good. That's actually correct. So in the post, we actually have this kind of like relation to the user profile, and we can even get this as a navigation property. But we cannot refer to infrastructure in the domain project, so cannot access DB directly. No, of course not. But we don't need to. The entire idea of the domain model is that here, when we model our application in this domain layer, we don't think about databases and other stuff. The idea is we only think about how we instantiate an object, and we expose that logic through a factory method. And if, for instance, I don't know, to create, I don't know, a post, this create post, I would also need, I don't know, maybe an I collection of something else that's another aggregate, then yeah, that's correct. It would be the responsibility, in our case, of our application layer or the handler to get all the data that it actually needs to instantiate a new instance of post. So that's true. The idea is that what the domain model actually does, or where it comes to life, is after we get all the information of the database, and somebody, which probably is the service layer, would instantiate an object of post. But getting the data from the database to instantiate an object of post, that's the responsibility of the service layer or application layer, or in our case, the handlers. So hope it's a little bit clearer. But yeah, that's why we actually have these fields here, because we need a way to actually add things here to this list. And we have added this update post comment. Once again, let's go through it. So we get the comment first, and if the comment is not null, and if the updated comment is not an empty string or null, then we want to update this one. And since this is a reference type, we don't have to save anything back. Cool. Okay, so I guess that from this domain layer perspective, we should be covered. If you can just excuse me for 1 minute, and I will be back very, very soon. Yeah, okay, back. Sorry for that. My cat was actually getting very, very crazy, and I had to let her out of the room. So yeah, that's the reason why I had to escape here. Cool. Okay, so now we are covered with this part, I guess. Sergey, did I manage to answer your questions in the end? I know it's not really clear. Neither for me is always clear exactly what happens when. But what I tend to do is actually, yeah, I get these basic concepts, and I try to apply them, and I try to apply each concept once we need that. Could we also maybe have a look at an example of an owned entity here, value object in a one-to-one relation with the parent entity? Yeah, I guess we'll look at that, but what I want to say, we haven't implemented full domain-driven design here. So we just have this idea of the rich domain model and the full encapsulation of the domain entities. So we don't have a full domain-driven design implementation here. So I guess that's very important to note. So and therefore we actually don't have in our application right now the concept of value object. So that's something that we don't have right now. And we haven't gone for the full domain-driven design because from my personal experience, and I even wrote a paper on that for a university, is that yeah, that's kind of cool if you have very large applications, but it's kind of like an overhead for most of the applications that we are building. And what I do also at work on real projects is I just take from this domain-driven design paradigm the parts that I guess are very important because they allow us to write a code that's easier to test and that's less prone to bugs. And for this, actually, from my point of view, there are these two very important concepts. So first of all, having the rich domain model, because then you can unit test that. In regular applications, or in most applications that you might see, is you get a lot of things in a certain service that interacts with databases, that does a lot of stuff, and it's actually very hard to unit test that because you have to perform integration tests or mock a lot of repositories and stuff. And if you move behavior from that layer to a rich domain model, that's easy to unit test. So you can cover basically all your projects with a lot of unit tests, and the only thing that you would have to integration test are only the handlers itself, because you know already that the domain is working. So you just want to test that the database is working and everything's okay. So that's the first major thing that I take from domain-driven design in basically all projects that I start from scratch, also at work. And then the second thing that I take from domain-driven design actually is having this full encapsulation, because what I have found out, and I guess you might also be able to relate to this experience, is that a lot of bugs come from the fact that we have here in domain layers regularly get set, so everything's public. And everybody, really, literally everybody in that application can set properties on our domain entities. And in a lot of cases, they could set properties to, I don't know, to some values or to states that are actually not valid from the way that the application should work from a conceptual level. So therefore, I guess that having this full encapsulation really makes your code less prone to bugs, because you have one single control plane where you actually decide if you allow to set a property or to change a property or to do similar stuff to that. So I guess these two concepts from domain-driven design is what I tend to mostly take in all the applications that I write. But I usually don't go for the full domain-driven design implementation unless I know that we'll have a very big application in the end, probably also with microservices, because real domain-driven design means also from a practical perspective that you should also have microservices, because you should have then a microservice for each bounded context and things similar to that. So yeah, okay, good. So the long story short is we don't really have value objects here in our application. Okay, so let's start. I don't know, should we start from the API layer? I mean, we have this post, but these are the contracts. Okay, let's also look in the contracts first. So for a request, what do we need to implement? We need to implement the delete and the update. Now for the delete, the only thing that we need is the ID, and that one we take from the route. And for the update, we have already a contract post comment update, and we need to provide a text for that. So I guess from the contracts perspective, we are covered. So that's everything that we would actually need from our clients. Cool. Let's go to our controllers in this case. So we have, yeah, I tried to use some DDD in a modular monolith using records as owned entities to the maximum. Yeah, doing that actually is, well, I also have done that in a few occasions, and I guess I understand why you were asking how I would do that. If you use records, the only thing is that in the data access layer, if you use Entity Framework Core, I usually have a configuration class for that, where I configure that the value object is actually an owned entity. So it's basically fluent EF Core configuration, and I usually also tend to add that to the same database, or sorry, to the same table. And it would add, like, for instance, let's say that the name is maybe a value object for the user. You would have a column, for instance, user underscore name, user underscore last name. So when I have this one-to-one relationships with value objects, I usually tend to actually configure them as owned entities with the Fluent API of EF Core, and they will also get saved in the exactly same table. So that's how I usually do that. Okay, let's go for the controllers here. Okay. And by the way, there's something that I want to say. I don't know if I learned something as a programmer is that I regularly change my mind about things. Because you read different stuff, you experience different stuff, and you might get to you might get to a conclusion. Okay, this might be actually need to be done differently, or this I should have done differently. So everything that I do and I see, maybe in 1 year I would have a slightly different opinion, but at least for now, with this setup that we have here, I had some fairly good success with my work projects, I would say. Okay, so we have here this add post interaction. We have remove post interaction. We have get post interaction. Okay. So what do we have? Add comment to post. Okay, so this is the part where we add the comment to a post. Okay, so this is already implemented. Is valid UID, but okay, why do we actually do that? I guess I have written this before I have implemented this validate GUID filter, because right now we actually already do this here in validate model. So theoretically we can remove that because we have this validate GUID. No, because here we want to validate user profile ID, and the user profile ID in this case. User profile ID in this case is part of the contract that we receive here as body. Let's move that maybe on a separate line. So yeah, in that case, we need to do this validation here because that's not something that we validate in the route. Okay, so here, then we do all this stuff and we add the comment. Then we have get comments by post ID, so we get all the comments. Okay, so we have get all the comments. We have the ability to add a comment. Now, I would say, even though I guess it wouldn't be really needed to get only one comment by ID, because even if you go on Facebook, for instance, you cannot just, I don't know, select to see only one comment. You can see all the comments of a certain post, but not only one, for instance, on your page. I'm not sure that that's needed. So in that case, yeah, add post comment, add comment to post, and then we'll have here a method remove a comment from post. Okay, let me just check again this GitHub stuff. So yeah, remove and update. Yeah, so these are the two things that we need to do, remove and update. Cool. Let's start with the remove in that case. Let's maybe, I don't know, make this close up a little bit of the things here. Okay. Now, there is one other thing that we will have to do here as part of the remove. Public async task of I action result. Remove comment from post. Okay, cool. So we have that right now. So what do we need here? We need the post ID, of course, that would be from the route. So first of all, that would be an HTTP delete. Okay, second of all, we'll have to specify the route here. And we have for this, for here, we have a class where we have all our API routes. And here we are on posts. And I guess that this is post. Post. I guess it's post comments. I guess that should be okay. Let's take a look at that. So post comments is the post ID / comments. Okay. So we are good with that. And then we actually need this one, comment by ID, because we just want to delete a comment. So we need also to specify the comment ID in our route. Okay, cool. So we use this route. Now here we have two GUIDs. Now in that case, it means that we need to use our action filter, validate GUID. And there's actually only one thing that I have changed here, and that was for a video that I have uploaded today. I don't. If you have watched this previously, you know that we had here different constructors. One if we had only one key provided, and one if we would have two. So what I have done here, I have changed that to one single constructor, which actually gets a params of string array. So we could use this validate attribute in this case and provide how many keys we want. It will still work the same. So yeah, that's the only real change that I have done. Otherwise, it's everything still the same. So we have to validate the GUID. Now, what are the keys? So first of all, it's post ID, and then it's comment ID. Okay. So we just have to provide these strings here, post ID, and okay. We'll also have a model. We'll have here also validate model, which is also one of our custom action filters. Okay. Do we need something else? I guess no. We have the HTTP method, the route, the validate GUID. Okay, now the only thing is here that we'll have here string post ID, string comment ID. And that's what we'll get from the routing. And then let's go back to our contracts. Post update. That's our, but it's not post update. Post comment update. Okay. Okay, and but actually that's a delete. Here we don't need anything. So we don't need to validate them all. That's a delete. We don't get anything in the body here. You should have said that. So we just get these two IDs in this case. And for now, just to not have an error, let's just return an okay. And let's think once again about other things that we would need here. So first of all, we would need to check if the user that actually wants to perform this action is the owner of the comment. But that's actually logic that we'll have in our handler. So I guess the only thing that we would need to do here is just also provide the action user profile ID. So var user profile ID. And for that one, we have created some extensions on the HTTP context, but I don't recall exactly how we call them. So let's take a look. HTTP context extensions, get user profile ID claim value. And that's and it will return this directly as a GUID. So that's actually cool. So get user profile ID claim value. Okay. So that's actually what we already have. And what this method does, nothing else. It checks actually based on the JWT token if we have the claim with user profile ID, and the handler will then check if user profile ID that we provide here corresponds actually to the user profile ID that created the comment. Cool. So we have done that. Now the next thing that we would need here is, I guess we will need var post GUID equals GUID dot parse, and here we can parse because we have this validate GUID that actually returns a bad request if the GUIDs are not valid. So it means that if we arrive here, we know that these GUIDs are valid, so we can just parse them. So instead of using try parse, we can just parse them. So post ID, and that would be the post ID, and var comment ID equals GUID.parse, and then that would be the comment ID to parse. Okay, but it's comment GUID. Okay, cool. I guess we are done with that. So that would be actually everything for the controller, at least for now. So we need to head over to our application layer to actually, where is our application layer here? To actually implement this stuff. It may be not directly relevant to current code, but is it possible to return 2+ return types in one async like task double method? Or there is another way out params do not work there? As far as I know, no, you can't really do that. But what you could do is return a tuple, for instance. There were some cases where I wanted to achieve that, and I returned tuples. That would also be a possibility. But I'm not sure about the scenario why you would like to return task of double and double. That's not supported in .NET. Task has only one generic parameter, a generic type parameter. Have you tried the idea of tuples? Does this maybe help? I mean, that's the first hunch that seems to be closest to what you actually are asking. Okay, so let's go here to our application layer, and here we kind of like try to also model everything around the different features that we have. So we have these posts folders. So this remove that would be a command. So definitely we would actually add class remove comment from a post. That would be an I request that would return an operation result of. We will, I guess we will just return the removed comment. I don't know, maybe it would be useful. So what we will return here, okay, what should be that? What do we actually... Let me go to the handlers first, because I want to actually be consistent, not the query handlers, but the command handlers. I want to be consistent with everything else. And the closest thing here that we have is, for instance, this remove post interaction. So what do we actually return here? We return directly the domain model. Okay. You know, already that's something that I would probably, I don't know, change because I guess we could, we should maybe, I don't know, not return the domain model here, but just return something like a DTO. And then the API layer should be responsible to actually map the DTO to a certain contract. But okay, for now we do it like that, or like we have it here. So we just return the post interaction. So it means that we will just return the post comment here. Okay. Let's also add the missing usings. Okay, I tried, but hesitate a little. Okay, and then comments API or with views. We already have comments. We have already two endpoints for comments. We have an endpoint to add a comment and to get all the comments for a certain post. So what we are implementing now is the ability to actually delete a comment if you want to delete a comment, and to also update a comment if you just want to update the text. Maybe you did a typo and you just want to correct that. So we want to expose that functionality. Or what exactly do you mean with comments API? Can you please elaborate just a little bit on that DIY channel? That would be totally great. Okay, so what we will need in this comment is three things, I guess. We will need the GUID of user profile. User profile ID. That's it. Okay. What we'll also need here is a public GUID, and it would be the post ID and public GUID comment ID. Okay. Sorry, no, it's not a problem with your English. I probably, maybe I'm misunderstanding what you want to say, because no, when we talk generally, and that's not only valid if we talk English, and maybe none of us is actually a native English speaker, but the idea is that usually when somebody tells something, there's also a lot of I don't know, context to that thing that that the receiver of the message isn't aware of. So I was not aware exactly of what you were thinking when you were talking about the comments. Is that only an API application or complete web application with view razor pages? For now, it's only an API application, but as mentioned, we'll probably start, I don't know, maybe in the second half of March to create also a front end for that in Blazor WebAssembly. But for now, it's just an API. Sergey, as an example, I want to return in one async method two related request data of users and of their respective comments posted. Task of int. But you return a contract, and in that contract you can put whatever you want to return there. And in the service layer, you get all the data that you need from the database, process the data, then put it in that contract or in that DTO, and you just return a regular DTO with all the information that you need in that. I'm still not following exactly the example. But also, however, if you want to return a tuple, then it would be a task of tuple of, I don't know, a tuple, I guess it could have up to 6, I guess, different generic type parameters. Can I find this video later on your channel? Yes. All the live streams that we do here for this series, there is a playlist which has exactly the same name like this series, like ASP.NET Core API from scratch with CQRS, and all the videos are in that playlist. From 1, this one is 18, so all the videos are there in the order that we actually made them. So you can check that out later. Totally. Okay. And I guess for the command, there is nothing else that we really need here. So we can go to the command handlers, and let's add a new handler for that. Remove comment from post handler. Okay, and that would be, I guess, a fairly long thing here. So let's go here. So this would be an I request handler. Let's also implement what's missing. And the command for this is remove comment from post, which is this one. And the return would be an operation result of post comment. Okay. And we also, let's import what's still missing. And I guess that should be okay. We just need to implement the missing interface members. Okay, so let's make this async. And by the way, we also work with cancellation tokens. So let's go back to the controller. So there's one thing that we also want in the controller to take in here is, and maybe let's also go here on a different line, is a cancellation token. And we'll actually use that to push it down to all the parts of the application that that needs that. Okay, thank you very much. You're a nice guy. Thank you very much. Also, I'm glad you think I'm a nice guy. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I try my best. Cool. Okay, so what do we actually need here? Once again, it's been, I guess, 2 weeks since I last worked on this one, and I worked on a bunch of different other stuff from that point of view. Let me go here, because I'm not sure exactly. Okay, this is not something that we'll need, I guess. Okay, so let's also remove this breakpoint. Okay, so the only thing that we use here is actually a data context, so we don't use anything else. Yeah, because the mediator we will use in the API, so the data context is the only thing that we need. Cool. Yeah, let's just get that private read-only data context, which is, by the way, the DB context. So that's our DB context. Let's add here this one. Okay. What? Sorry, not here. I'm totally wrong with that. Not here. That's the method. We don't need to add it to the method, but to the class itself. A person who shares his knowledge, and by the way, how you explain things in your videos is very helpful. I'm glad you find it helpful. Not public, but private read-only data context. Okay. And then the constructor for that. Like this, and let's just assign that. And by the way, one thing that actually I came across with this idea when working on a different application, what we did actually in all our handlers is that we created here this operation result in the handle method. And that actually came with a lot of stuff that were a little bit problematic, because, for instance, if we have different try catches or IVAT or private methods that we actually use to expose some other type of functionality, is that we had to always pass in this this result somehow to actually populate it with an error if some error happens. But I actually had this idea for the other application that I am actually working at work, and why not actually expose this or have this operation result as a field. And that's actually very helpful because you can use it throughout your entire class. Public methods, private methods, it really doesn't matter. So it would be a post comment. And yeah, let's call this result. Okay. And maybe here in this, we can just say result equals new operation result of post comment, and we have a new instance of that. So right now what we could do is we can just return the result here. And we'll think about what we do here just now. Cool. So there are quite a few things that we need to achieve here. So first of all, we need to get the post. Now var post equals await context of posts. And here we'll actually need a bunch of stuff. Include okay, what do we need to include for a post? We need to include a post comments here. So actually, there's nothing else that we need to include here, only this one. And then first or default async. Okay, I forgot a dot. Okay, and the condition is we want to get a post for which the post, we call that post ID equals what we have actually in this request, which is the post ID. Okay, so that's really the first thing to do. And of course, pass the cancellation token. Cool. Okay. So we get the post, and the post would already include the comments. Now, if we don't find the post, and that's actually, we already have these post error messages. So post error messages, post not found, we already have that. Okay. So let's go back here, and let's just say that if post is null, or of course we can say even if post equals null, so that's also the same thing. So in that case, we want to say here to the result that we want to add error. And by the way, add error is a method that we have exposed on this operation result class, and what we have to provide here is an error code. I'm not sure. Let's take a look in the error codes. What error codes? These are some custom error codes that we will use. We have this not found, post update not possible, post delete not possible, and not found. I guess it's what we'll have here. Error code not found. Okay, and then we can just return the message, and we already have this message. Once again, we have this post error messages class. And here we have post not found that will return a message that the post was not found. And what we'll also want to do if we arrive at this point, we also want to return. Because it really doesn't make sense to actually continue with anything if the post is null. Cool. I don't know whether it's me alone, but I can't see code screen. Okay. Guys, can you see the code on the screen? Can you please let me know if you can see the code on the screen? Because I don't know, the tools that I have here for my live stream, they suggest that that actually everything's working fine. And if I look at the replay of the stream, I can actually see the code that that I'm writing. So can you please let me know here in the chat if anybody else has problems with that? Jacob, Angel, looks good to me. Check your quality settings. Okay. Thank you very much, Jacob, for confirming that it actually looks good. Yeah. Okay. So now the next thing that we need to do is to get the comment actually. So var comment equals post comments dot where, and we want to get a comment for which the comment ID equals the comment ID of the request that we have, like that. Good. So that's the next step. Okay, so I'm thinking that the next thing that we need to do is a similar check to what we had previously. So if comment equals null, so in that case, typo here again. So if comment equals null, what's the problem with your expression is always false? Why is the problem? Okay, it's always false because let's get this on a separate line. Because we need to actually execute because it's an enumerable. Okay, so what's the problem right now? What do you try to tell me? Replace with single, first, or default. Okay. Yeah, of course, we don't need a where. We don't need a where. And here we did it. Var.comment comment ID equals to the comment ID that we have in the request. So if the comment is null, we'll have something similar to what we had previously. So result.add error, and here we just provide an error code, and let's see, post. I guess we need to add here a new one. I guess we need to add here post delete not possible, post update not, post interaction not found. Yeah. Okay, and let's add that public string. Let's maybe know that it's a post comment found equals. Let's maybe just like we have in the interaction, comment not found, whatever. Okay, and I guess in the error codes for that, maybe we'll just add also this one. Let me go back. Error codes here, and we have here in the application error, post update not possible, interaction remove not authorized, identity user. Okay, no, I guess that one is still still not found. Okay, so we'll just use the not found. Not found. Okay, and then post error messages, and the one that we have right now is this post comment not found. And once again, what we want to do here is we don't actually want to perform any other action if that's the case. Cool. So let's go one step further in this case. So assuming that right now we have the post, we have then the comment that we are looking for, and then there is one other check that we need to do. We need to do that actually the author of the comment is actually or corresponds to the ID or to the user profile ID that is actually initiating this request. So we also have to check here if comment dot user profile ID is not equal to request dot user profile ID. In that case, I guess in that case we'll just need to add a bunch of different stuff here. Is making the entity as two error codes post and separately error codes comment. Make it harder down to read. I guess so. I mean, in most of the applications that I have worked on, those error codes were just enums, and we were just actually trying to make sure that similar to what we have in HTTP, that we have ranges for different type of errors that we might have that correspond to a certain logical grouping of errors. But I don't really think that it would benefit a lot to make this generic. And I'm not sure if we can have a generic enum. I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's even possible, actually. I have a question. Are you available in Fiverr as a teacher or on another platform? Well, actually, not, because I'm working full time actually, and well, in the spare time I'm doing YouTube. But you can find my email on my YouTube profile. I guess there is some contact information or something like that on the channel. And I have specified my email there. So just let me know what you actually need. and what you would want to learn, or what do you think would want to learn? Because we already have on this Code Wrinkles channel two playlists that are suitable for those who want to learn. We have a playlist that's called C# for Total Noobs, and in those we have courses, like real courses that takes literally or dedicated literally to persons that never coded before. So it's right from the beginning, like how to install Visual Studio, and then what's actually a data type, what's a variable, what's an if, what are loops, and that would be the first one. And then we have this other playlist, which is ASP.NET Core for absolute beginners, which is also a series for beginners that already know a little bit of C# and want to learn ASP.NET Core. And in March, we'll start a new course, which is ASP.NET Core Intermediate. So we already have on this channel some courses. I need your skills and will pay for it if you teach me. Okay, I don't know, just drop an email, but I really can't promise anything because, as I said, I'm doing a full-time job, and well, it's fairly exhausting. And but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so if the comment user profile ID is not equal to user profile ID, in that case, we'll need some new error messages here, similar to interaction removal not authorized. That's something that we'll have here: public const string comment removal not authorized. Cannot remove comment post. You are not its author. So similar to what we actually had previously. And let me just add this to the error codes. Okay. Where is it? Post update, interaction removal. Okay. So this is 362. Okay, let's 302. Okay, let's just continue here because I don't want to actually renumber everything. So that would be 307. Now, the whole idea of these error codes is that when your application goes actually live and you really want to start tracing and debugging and find out what's going wrong in production, you would also have logging and hopefully structured logging. By the way, we have a video on this channel on structured logging. There's a dedicated playlist for logging in ASP.NET Core, and one video in that playlist is about structured logging. The idea is that then you can actually very easily find or individuate different type of errors that you might have, or find other related stuff or operations that might have had the same error code. So it's really easy to follow along when you kind of like have these codes here. And the idea is that, of course, if you also have a dedicated support team after you develop the application, for them it's way easier to actually kind of like be able to query and search for different error codes. And with the time, those that are most common or that come up more commonly, most of the people would even remember them. So it's actually very or easier to actually relate to what happened by using also this idea of error codes. Cool. So if the comment user profile ID is not equal to the user profile ID, in that case, result dot add error, and here the error code would be, I guess, this one, and post error messages, comment removal not authorized. I guess that should be it. Maybe just move that on a different line. Have everything on screen. Cool. I guess we are okay with that. And in this case, once again, we don't want to perform any additional database action. We just return the result. This add error will automatically add this error to the error list of the operation result, and it will also set the flag is error to true, so we don't have to care about that anymore. So we just return the result. Now, if all these checks have passed, now in that case, I guess it's the part where we can actually remove everything. So we can say here post, and remember that we have exposed this remove comment method. and this remove comment, and we say, okay, we want to remove this comment. And then the thing is that what we could do is we can simply context.posts.update, and we update the post here, and we save the changes to the database, and that would actually delete the comment. Wait, context.save save changes async, and here in this save changes async, will pass in the cancellation token. Here we don't need to pass the cancellation token because this is not actually talking to the database, only this one is talking to the database. Cool. So I guess we are good with that. So if everything is actually okay, we can just then set the result the payload to be equal to the comment. Okay, and that would return the comment. With these multiple ifs, are you planning to cover specification pattern in this series? That would be quite useful for learners, I think. That would be an idea, but I don't really think that the specification pattern would actually help a lot here. I'm thinking maybe more something like, I don't know, yeah, specification pattern, that could help. But the other thing is that we could probably also move a lot of this stuff here directly in the filtering that we are doing here, I guess. Because theoretically, because here we get actually the post with all the comments. Okay, we can maybe just search for one comment and specify most of the criteria actually here in this include. So this would also actually simplify that. And actually you would do exactly the same thing with the specification pattern, only that you would move this type of rules that we have here. You would actually move them in the specification. I don't know, maybe at some point we'll actually refactor that somehow. The idea is that, from my point of view, what we are doing here with these ifs is actually a regular control flow. So is kind of like we are not implementing different behavior here. We are just setting something in this result field. But I'll give a think about that, Sergey. So thank you very much for that. I know, I understand that these ifs are quite ugly. That's correct. But conceptually, I'm not sure that they are totally wrong here. Because if we had the specification, we wouldn't be able to set so granular error messages and codes. So that would be the downside of that, because you would not know exactly what went wrong. Because in the specification pattern, you would just have a specification that would say, give me this, and this. Another idea that we could do here, and actually maybe that would be more useful, and probably we will do that at a certain point. We could do the validation using Fluent validation, and we would create a validator for this action, for instance. So we could, for instance, create a validator here for, I don't know, for post, comment, delete, and kind of like validate all the stuff that we do here in the validation directly. And the cool thing about that is that if you are using Fluent validation, you can still add several different error messages to the result, depending on what validation exactly was wrong. On the other side, it is hard to scroll every class a lot. Yeah, but that's even not a lot. There are only 57 lines here. So I don't know, 57 lines. It's not a lot for a class. But I totally agree with you that it's maybe not optimal to have all these ifs. But as said here, I think specification pattern might be an option, but I guess that would be maybe a better use case for fluent validation here. Fluent validation would be much more object oriented, because we would have a validator for each type of handler, and that validator would actually validate all these conditions that you would actually pass in here. So yeah, I guess maybe we should definitely refactor this at a certain point. But for now, we just want to get this functionality going. But if you want, for instance, we can maybe just open a GitHub issue for that, and maybe we can discuss there, decide upon how we want to actually do this kind of restructuring, if using a specification or if using Fluent validation, and yeah, then somebody could implement that, maybe even you, Sergey. So we'll concentrate here on this stream on things like the functionality itself, or things that yeah, if we decide to go for the specification pattern, that might be something that we want to also do on stream. But yeah, maybe we can have that chat on a GitHub issue in this repository. I guess I'll open that, or you might open one for yourself. Practically, where do you prefer to write down your business logic? Not to forget the logic flow. But you know, the thing here is that this is actually, I'm not sure, that's actually not business logic, that's application logic. And that's where things get messy, because usually when you write software, it's not that straightforward as you see in examples and in conferences, because you say, yeah, you have your domain logic in your domain, you have your application layer logic in your application logic. But for instance, this fact that, okay, I should not be able to remove a comment if I'm not the owner of that. Is that a domain logic or a business rule, or is this an application logic? Because I tend to see this as an application logic, not really as a business logic. And if it is an application logic, then I would have it, of course, here in this application layer directly. It's, yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I have started this whole project here with Livestream, to actually go through this type of phases and stuff and discussions. So I'm glad we have them, and thank you, by the way, very, very much for getting involved. I really appreciate it a lot. No, it's okay that you're asking. I'm really very happy with that. Not to forget the logic flow in steps called Jira and the like. GitHub wiki, inline comments only. I started forgetting after. Yeah, that's another point. That's another point. We should use comments. That's correct. We should definitely comment our code. At some point, we even did that when we just started with the domain entities. But yeah, that's true. That's totally true. Okay, so we remove the comment and save changes, and yeah, that should actually be it. So that would mean that we have everything wired up right now. So theoretically, let's maybe just place a break point here, because we might want to test that. So let me close this right now, and let's go back here to our controller. And okay, so now that we have all this information, var command equals new, what did you call that? Remove comment from, I guess it's this one, but we'll use directly an object initializer for that. And here we'll have user profile ID equals to user profile GUID. Profile. It's user profile ID itself. Okay. I'll come back to the comments just in 1 second. Let me just finish with this command that we want to create. So then we have the comment ID that would be equal to the comment on GUID, and we have the post ID, that would be equal to post GUID. That would be the comment. Then var result equals await mediator.send. So we'll send a comment and we'll also pass in the cancellation token to that. Okay, what's happened here? It's token, not cancellation token. Okay. Now, if result.isError, we already have a method on the base controller for that, and we just return handle error messages, handle error response, and then we provide result.errors. Okay, and that one will generate us the response that we need. Otherwise, okay, what do we want to return here? Okay, let me okay, so Vinay, can you please, I'm not sure what you wanted to say with can you please, so if you could extrapolate on that, that would be great. We can also filter the include use where for comment instead of tweaking on a separate statement. Yes, David, I guess that's what I was suggesting also, that we could move basically all those checks directly into the query that we actually sent to the database. And in that case, we should we would be able to actually have only one if. But the downside of that one is that we wouldn't be able to actually add granular error message responses if different things go wrong. So if the way we have like laid it out yet, we can give a lot more insight why something failed if it failed. Was that post not found? You were not authorized to actually remove the comment. Was the post found but the comment was not found? So if you move everything in the query directly, you won't be able to actually provide this type of detail when it comes to your errors, and that would make things very hard to troubleshoot and maintain afterwards. So I guess we'll have to actually kind of like see exactly what is more important for us. But yeah, we could totally do that. Okay, so if the result is error, we just return the handle request. So we said, okay, but if, no, we will just return no content here. We'll just return no content here. So everything was deleted, but we just return no content. Cool. Can you please make a video sometime on how to learn new technologies like Web API faster? Being a self-taught developer, I'm a self-taught developer myself, and I am taking definitely into consideration what you say. I was thinking still that I would like to maybe start also videos that are not 100% technical, so that are more I don't know, like advice or things that I went through when learning, or things that I'm still going through while learning. And I don't know, soft skills and things similar to that. So I was also thinking about videos like that. So your idea is totally welcome. The only thing is, I'm not sure there is a way to learn faster. I don't know. It's learning. It's learning. It's not that fast. So yeah. Best way, start some pet project and go through pain learning practically. Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did, and I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. And by the way, guys, one thing to mention is that if you kind of like want to support this channel and this stream, during these live streams, you have this option right below the comment box to actually use the super thanks or a super sticker to say thank you, or to just post something nice on the chat. And that would be highly appreciated. But once again, always when I make these type of announcements, I will still continue to do this. So no matter if you use the super tags or the super stickers or not, but I would, of course, appreciate a lot if you do that. Cool. So we then just return here no content and everything should be okay. And that should be for the remove comment from post. Okay. Now let's implement also the action for, let's maybe make this just a little bit, maybe we'll just put also breakpoint. Oh my God, breakpoint here. Let's also implement the update, because when we actually try this out, we actually need to actually first get authenticated, get a JSON WT token, and then with that token we actually should. By the way, did we authorize calls to the controller? Authorize? Yes, we have. Cool. So we want everything to be authorized. That's cool. Okay. Okay. So where were we? Add comment to post. Okay, here I don't want a breakpoint because theoretically we have already done that. Why can't I close that? And that. Okay, let's make everything a little bit smaller. So this would be the remove comment, and yeah, let's have this update. So public async task of my action result. That would be update comment text. Okay, so what we need, what do we need here? First of all, that would be HTTP. I know we could make it either patch or put. I know there are some folks that might have a very strong opinion about that, but yeah, I really don't have a strong opinion about that. I think both of them are okay. I'm more accustomed to work with the put, so we'll use a put. Though I guess for some of the endpoints we even use patch, but yeah, I tend to use put. Okay, then the route. Now the route here would still be comment by ID. API route dot post dot comment by ID. Okay, so here once again we'll have validate GUID. Okay, thank you very much DIY for your super sticker. That's appreciated. Thank you a lot. Okay, so validate GUID. Maybe I got here something wrong. Yeah, I got something wrong. But still I need to provide. I guess it's actually the same like here. So it's the same post ID and comment ID. Okay. Cool. We'll right now here we'll also have, because here we will also have a body. So validate model. That's also what we need to do. So what do we get here as incoming params? In this case, we have string post ID, string comment ID. Then we'll have what we have here in our contract is post comment update. Updated comment. So that's what we would need here. Okay, this filter will actually validate this one. Right now we just say that it's actually required. There's no other validation that we have here in place. But the validate filter will actually do that. That's also a custom filter that we have written, by the way. Cool. So we have this update comment text right now. We just get the post ID, comment ID, updated comment, and I guess that's everything that we need actually here. So the first thing, similar to what we had previously, we will also need the check of our user profile ID equals HTTP context For those of you who joined a little bit later, that's once again one of our custom extension methods that actually looks into the claims of the authenticated user and gets us the value of the user profile ID claim. And it gets us this value directly as a GUID. Adam Snake, thank you very much also for your sticker. That's kind of some fun stickers that you have used here. they are kind of like fun. Thank you very, very much for that. And by the way, Eden or Eden, I think you never wrote something here, so welcome to this channel and to this stream. I'm very glad to have you here. Cool. So yeah, here we get this. By the way, if you just wait to take a look at that, we just call a private method, and what we do here is simply on the HTTP context, we have the user property, which is by default on any HTTP context in ASP.NET Core, and the identity, and that's actually a claims identity, and we can then cast that to a claims identity. And in the claims identity, you have this method find first. It's kind of like you provide a key for a claim that you are actually looking for, and then you can get the value of that claim. So that's actually how that works. It's quite simple. It's not really complicated. Cool. Let's I don't know, maybe close that here. Where were we here? Okay, so we get this one. Then we need here var post GUID equals GUID.parse. And here we have the post ID, and for comment ID equals GUID.parse and the comment ID. Okay, so we are cool with okay, but comment GUID, because comment ID is the name of the incoming parameter. Okay. Thank you for your lesson. I'm still looking at lessons 7 for beginners. You are the best. Thank you very much. I'm actually glad that you are looking at that. Because actually, from a viewer perspectives, like during the streams, that stream was surely not that popular as this one. But I'm really glad that there are a lot of people that actually find that playlist afterwards and that actually go through that. That's quite nice, because in March we will start actually the follow-up to that course, which is ASP.NET Core for intermediates. So I guess until then you might go through that. So it's actually a direct follow-up to that one. Okay, so we have this comment GUID. I just want to get rid of the error, so let's just return an okay for now at least. Cool. And right now we also need to go to the application layer part and handle all the stuff that we needed there. Okay, Eden, thank you very much again for this other sticker. That's also quite fun one. Thank you very much appreciated. Okay, so let's go to our handlers and commands. So update post comment would be this. Update post comment. So that's an I request of operation result of post comment. I know that we just returned these comments or kind of like for all methods where we update or delete something, we return actually what we have updated or deleted, but we actually don't show it in the API. I'm totally aware about that. I'm aware it's not optimal, but I still think we might need this information later. So I just want to have it there already. Not to start to go through all the handlers when we'll find us in a situation that we will need that. So yeah, I'm aware of that. So here we will need once again similar stuff. Public GUID. Waiting for .NET for Intermediate series. Okay, I'm glad. It will definitely come. I said probably sometime in the first part of March we'll start that. So public UID user get set, public GUID post ID get set, public UID comment ID get set. Okay, so that's everything that we need here for this one. Okay, so let's create a handler for that. Update post comment. Update post comment. Actually, for the update, we might actually want to really return the updated comment, because we want to actually display it. So consumers will want to actually display it directly. So, but they will still have the information, and if they get the information that it was that the operation was successful, they already have that information. Yeah, we'll see that. Probably some things will change when we will start to also implement a front end to this API. So update post comment post comment handler. Okay, so that would be, let's go on a different line, and I request handler of update post comment. Yes, it's this one, and it would return an operation result of comment. I guess that should actually no, what's the problem? The problem is here we have a typo, and right now, yeah, we can use that, and we just need to implement the interface for that. Cool. And we need the cancellation token, of course. We need to add that async task. Let's move here this cancellation token to a new line to be able to see everything. And here, actually, that's very similar to what we have done for the delete. So we'll need here a private read-only data context and yeah, import missing stuff. We just need also a constructor here, and in the constructor we also take in the data context and assign that. Oh, and we'll also add this operation result as a private field, private read-only operation result. I'm always having that type of operation result of post comment. Call it result, and in the constructor, let's alt equals new. Let's just instantiate that. Okay, cool. So we are, I guess, covered with that, with what we need here. So here there are a few things that we need to do. First of all, we can just say here return a result. Return a result. Okay, and then actually what we'll do here is kind of like similar stuff to what we already have done in that other handler. What was that? Remove post interaction handler. Did we change something here? Okay. Why is that blue? I'm not sure. Yeah, probably we did change something. Okay, so update post comment handler. So yeah, I guess I said some of the stuff that we have here we can actually reuse. And I know you will say, hey, that's code repetition, you repeat yourself. And I will say that once again, at least at this point of view, I don't think that this is actually a code repetition. And I will explain exactly why just in a second. I just want to check exactly what we can actually reuse from here. So it's post, we have this comment, and then we also want to actually do actually this entire part we can reuse. So yeah, I'll just copy paste that. I know that's not okay, but let me explain you. So the reason why I don't actually think about this as being a code repetition, and I think that when we hear about this principle that don't repeat yourself, we actually tend to give a lot more importance to that than it has. And we tend to always kind of like see everything like a repetition. Even if we have two lines of code that kind of like seem to be similar, we have repetition, and there's kind of like this obsession to, I don't know, move that, I don't know, in a private method, or kind of like make that reusable according to other principles. But if we talk about solid principles, there is also that principle, which is actually the very first one in the solid, which is the single responsibility. And what does this single responsibility principle say? Of course, it says that the class, module, whatever, should be only responsible for one thing alone. But another way to actually think about this principle is that a class, module, method, whatever, should have only one reason for change. Now, imagine that we take these parts here, I don't know, and we place that, I don't know, maybe in a class, in a method that we will reuse in both of the handlers. Now, that method, how many reasons for change would it have? Well, it would have two reasons for change, because it might be, or probably it will come to this at a certain point, that somebody will say, okay, we have to update something in the logic for the delete. Maybe for the delete, I don't know, we don't want to check something anymore. So we go to that class, to that method, and do the change. And suddenly our other one, in this case, this update will break. And that's why I don't really count this as being a repetition, because what we have in this handler and what we have in this handler, we have two totally different reasons for change for that. And that's why, in my opinion, that is not repeating ourselves, because we have totally dedicated and different reasons for change for these two handlers. Okay. Now, what is the handler that we were actually working on? I guess it was this one. Okay, so here we'll do exactly all the type of checks that we had even previously. So, now the only difference right now is that what we'll do here is that we'll say a comment, and I guess we should have this behavior method in our domain model update comment text. Actually, what we need in the request, we need the text that we need to update. Let's go to this comment. Public string updated text. Of course, we also need that. Cool. Okay, I see here there's a question. Sorry, I guess I missed it. Which cloud hosting services would you recommend for .NET Web API? AWS, Azure, DigitalOcean. To be honest, with DigitalOcean, I never worked. I work a lot with Azure. Actually, for I guess quite of like 4 years or something like that, as I was working for Microsoft, I was actually a consultant for Azure, for ISVs developing solutions on Azure. So yeah, with Azure, I'm definitely familiar, very familiar. With AWS, we worked on some projects. So kind of like both are, I don't know, in my opinion, both are offering quite really the same thing. So yeah, I'll go smoke and come again later. Lucky you, because I also guess I wanted to do a break for smoking, but probably when we'll finish. So coming back to this idea of the cloud providers of updated text. In the end, so technically, they both provide kind of like exactly the same thing. If AWS comes with some new service, Azure will Microsoft Azure will also have it in, I don't know, a few weeks. If Microsoft Azure comes up with something, then AWS will also have it in kind of like a few weeks. From the pricing perspective, once again, it's fairly similar. Now, of course, it really depends on the companies and what type of contracts you have with Microsoft. If you are a premier customer, if you are a volume customer, then you might get different prices on the Azure consumption and things like that. So, but for AWS, it's actually exactly the same. So pricing also does vary a lot depending on what type of contract you have with AWS. But at the end of the day, if you draw a line, also pricing is very, very similar. So in the end, when it comes to actually choosing a cloud service provider, it also depends if you're looking to that for a personal project and I don't know, as part of a company, because this decision usually actually takes into consideration what exactly the company is already using. So if you're in a company that already uses Microsoft Azure, then you go with Azure, of course. If the company is already using AWS, you can go with the AWS. Hosting ASP.NET Core applications is actually easy, both on Azure and also on AWS. You can also imagine that AWS has actually an entire, I don't know, big department with, I don't know, that's actually only focusing on .NET technologies. So you get literally everything that you need. You get it also in AWS as I don't know, a .NET developer. So in the end, the decision is, I don't know, uh, depending on a lot of contextual variables, but not on something very, very objective, I would say. So you might choose whatever you actually want to choose, depending on your contextual variables. Let's call them that way. Okay, so we have here this updated text. Okay, cool. So let's go back to our handler. Where do we have an error here? Where do we have an error here? Okay, update comment, because here we have request.updated text. Okay. And then what we'll do here is context.post dot update, and we want to update the post. By the way, we get this when we get this with the include, everything is tracked by EF core. So yeah, we can just simply update everything here and await context.save changes async, and we'll actually pass in the cancellation token. That's actually what we want to do, and we just then return the result. Maybe we can even put this in a try catch or something like that. Yeah, we'll do that later probably. So I guess that would be with the handler for now. Cool. Okay, so let's go back to our controller. Now in our controller, what we need to do right now is create a command equals new, how did we call it? Update post comment, but we want to use this object initializer instead, like this. So we'll have here user profile ID equals user profile ID, post ID equals post GUID, comment ID equals comment GUID, and updated text equals updated comment dot not to string but text. By the way, we don't really need to validate this, because the validation is done as part of this validate model filter that we have implemented here. So yeah, if if the execution of the program arrives here, that it means that this model is valid. So we don't really need to check it anymore. So what we'll need to do then, instead of also getting the cancellation token, var out equals await mediator.send, and here in the send we'll pass in the command and the token, and that would give us the result back. So if the result is error, if result.is error, that means we have errors, and we have errors in the list. So we can just return handle error response. That's a method that we have in our controller base class. And here we just need to provide a list of errors. Okay. Otherwise, we'll just return also here no content. Okay. We are cool with that. Okay. So I guess right now we have virtually everything that we need. Let me see here. We have this is running in debug mode. Okay. But when we run this, we still need to actually make sure that we actually debug that. Guys, and I already will tell you that if something fails right now on other things except of what we have worked today, then we'll resume with that, with fixing and investigating those errors at a later point. So not today anymore, most probably. But is it? Why does it take so long? Why does it even take so long? Okay. Content root path. That's on the other screen. So let's. Okay. So first of all, we need to log in. That's I guess the first challenge, and probably that's where we'll stop today, because I'm not sure about. I guess we have this user in the database. Let's see. So this is where we actually should get a JSON WT token back. That's the part where that should happen. But I guess opening connection to the database. Yeah, I guess it should be fine. It should be fine. No, status of 400. Bad request, unable to find user with the specified username. Okay, or the provided password is not correct. Cool. That's actually great. Let's try another one. Okay, and I guess the password should be the same. If not, probably we'll resume on Monday. No, we got it. In this case, we got this JWT token. And by the way, guys, if we want to actually take a look at this token, you can go here. And that's our token. And you see that we have these claims that we have added here, this identity ID and the user profile ID. So these are already part of the token itself. And that's how we can actually get them from the HTTP context and actually make sure that the user that wants to update a comment or I don't know, delete a comment is actually also the author. In addition, AWS, Azure both estimate over 500 million for a small application, which one instance of the database, which seems can't afford personal or small startup company in this instance. Estimate over $50 per month. Yeah, that's true. But what I do, for instance, is for my personal projects, at least in Azure, for personal things, I use Microsoft Azure all the time because I'm more familiar with that. Now, what you could do, for instance, there, and that's actually helping if you have several projects, maybe even lucrative projects from which you actually gain something, is that you can actually, for instance, have one app service plan. And for that app service plan, you would actually pay indeed around, I guess, $45 per month or something like that. With, I would say, the with the first tier that actually allows you to also have a custom domain and the certificate. It's around 45, but in that you can actually place several web applications that would consume those resources, so you don't have to pay this amount for each application of itself. For the SQL database, I do exactly the same thing. I actually have only one SQL server. All the resources, the DTUs for the server, are actually for the entire server, but I have different SQL databases there for different apps. And for instance, I pay around, I don't know, $45, $50 a month for that, but I have around 7 or 8 different applications that actually use those resources. So if I boil it down, then per application, it would be something like $6 or something like that, which at least for me is fairly okay. But I can, if you just have one application and want to host it somewhere, depending exactly what you want to do with that, because in Azure you have also, I guess, a free tier where you can use shared resources. The downside of that is that you can't actually use a custom domain, for instance. So you have to actually evaluate a little bit how things go. But optionally, you could also look at other providers that actually say that they support hosting ASP.NET Core applications, which nowadays almost any provider should do, because ASP.NET Core is also running on Linux. And most providers that provide hosting have Linux boxes. So if they install the .NET runtime on their boxes, they can host ASP.NET Core problems without any issue. So you might even take a look into that. That if you still want to keep with Azure, and if you have more applications that you actually work on, yeah, $50 can seem a little bit much. But if you split that across, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, or 8 different applications, well, I guess that should be fairly okay. Optionally, you could maybe just have your own IIS server at home and host it yourself. So that's also an option, I'd say. Cool. So this is the JWT token. So now that we have the JWT token, let's authorize here in Swagger. So authorize. Okay, cool. Now we are authorized. So let's just take a look. Here we have post. Post comments. Let's say, do we have any comments? But we need a post ID for that. Okay, so let's get posts. Try it out. Execute. So we have this one single post with this post ID. So let's take that and let's check if this post has actually comments. Okay, try it out. Post ID. It doesn't really have comments. Okay, so let's maybe add comments. Let's add a comment. Okay, that should add a comment. Try it out. Post ID. That's something that we have to change. That's what we have done when we didn't have JWT tokens. We should not get or have the user profile ID taken from here. And in fact, I guess we won't be able to test this right now, because I really this will probably break unless we are using the real identifier of user. That would actually break. But I guess we can use, actually. I guess we can use, because we have it here. So that's kind of cool that we have it in the token. So we can just provide it here, but that's definitely something that we need to change, because user profile ID should be taken from user token, because any consumer could say here, I'm X, could provide whatever ID they would want. So that would be a bad thing to have in the application. Apache web server plus traffic as reverse proxy and all PC, and you do not need Azure anymore. Okay. Yeah. I was going down the same route, but only with the IIS. But of course, with Apache, that will also work as well. I mean, you can even, I don't know, that there's also this free hosting service like Heroku. You could host it also on Heroku, but of course you cannot use custom domains there also. Okay, so let's try to add this comment and let's hope that it doesn't break. Actually, no, it didn't break. Cool. Okay. So let's try to get it again. Yeah, that's okay. We have this comment. Cool. So let's say that first we actually want, I don't know, I guess I need a notepad here. Let me not really scroll a lot or not scroll around a lot. So notepad. It would be a post ID. So that would be, I guess, no, that is the user profile ID. So let me once again here. That's the post ID. Okay. So where's my notepad here? So the post is this. And the comment that we have right now and that we would probably want to update is actually here the comment, it doesn't actually return the comment ID. That's also something that we need to change. So I guess we will not be able to really test that right now. Let me check if we get only the post by ID. Maybe, okay, this playing around actually just also shows us that we have actually to also maybe work on some issues here to refactor things a little bit. Let's see if we get one single post by ID in that. I think in that case, if I recall correctly, we also get an array of comments. So let me just check that one. No, it's simply like that. It's the post and last modified. So yeah, we kind of like don't get the idea of the comments right now, which is obviously not optimal. And I guess that's obviously also the part where, at least for today, probably we'll call it a day. And I know it's fairly late already. Sergey, you're from Russia. I guess it's very late in Russia. It's pretty late already here in Romania as well. And if you are still from India, I guess it's almost morning there. So yeah, guys, the idea is that I can promise that we will have a new live session on Monday at the same time as today. But it could be, if I get bored during the weekend, that I might work on this and stream it also. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, it might be worth to actually subscribe now, just to be able to actually get notified when something new happens here. And yeah, if you could join that would be totally great. But if you can't join, then as you already know, we have a playlist which is called ASP.NET Core API from Scratch with CQRS that actually contains all the videos that we had, or live streams that we had in the series, from the first till this one, which is with number 18. So you can also check it there. Midnight in Kenya. Okay. Also, Kenya also watching. Thank you very much. That's nice. That's very nice. And Moscow never sleeps. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It just with your changes shifts. Okay. That's a good one. And that's a good one. Yeah. So the idea is that if I do some stream during the weekend and you cannot join, well, then there's not a big problem, because you can then just rewatch that. But I promise you can already book that for Monday. We will have a stream here on this series, and we will continue to work on everything then on Monday. Guys, once again, I really want to thank you very much for tuning in, for jumping into the discussion with a lot of questions. That was actually great stuff, and makes me also feel great when I see that we get to actually talk and discuss different aspects of, I don't know, even development, but even besides that, like, I don't know, the hosting providers and things similar to that. That's really something that I appreciate very much. Shout out again to everybody that has also posted stickers here. That was also very much appreciated. And yeah, we'll keep on doing that, and hopefully we'll catch up then the next time around. Until then, please take care, stay safe, and well, enjoy your weekend if we don't get to see each other during the weekend. So bye.